The title of this video pretty much sums it up. Prioritize true relationship with God rather than prioritizing the good works you may do. Another way I could put it is love God like the works, instead of the other way around, loving the works and only liking God. Truly, I think we would be helped if there was greater emphasis on loving God and developing a personal relationship with Him. Start there, at least, and do not let your first love fade. To the angel of the church of Ephesus write, "These things says he who holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks in the midst of the 7 golden lampstands. I know your works, your labor, your patience, and that you cannot bear those who are evil. And you have tested those who say they are apostles and are not, and have found them liars. And you have persevered and have patience, and have labored for my name's sake, and have not become weary. Nevertheless, I have this against you, that you have left your first love." And that last verse, verse 4 that I just read in a different translation. "But I have this charge against you, that you have left your first love. You have lost the depth of love that you first had for me." A minute ago, I said we would be helped if there was greater emphasis on loving God and developing a personal relationship with Him. In contrast, I do not think there is a lack of emphasis on the works or good deeds we can do, such as reading our Bible more, serving in various ways. We can accost every stranger we see on the street and tell them about the good news. We can give money to various institutions. We can be more faithful attendees to church services or Bible studies. Whatever it may be, I think there is no lack of emphasis on the works we can do, and no lack of ideas for what works we can do in the name of the Lord. I'm not saying that doing those things is bad. I'm saying they should not be our first priority, and I'm saying that you could do all of those things and not really know God. The emphasis should be on loving God and developing a personal relationship with Him, because it is from this relationship that all the works God may want you to do will flow from. "Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me, and I in them, will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing." The closer one is to God, the more they love Him, the more they will become like Him. It is about relationship with and love for God, not about all the other results and works that would come naturally from closeness with Him. But most Christians are putting effort into the results and the works primarily. They are putting those things before personal, one-on-one time, intimacy, and relationship with God. They think that is the way. The first commandment is to love God. Jesus declared, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." But is this put into proper action? Love God, not the stuff, the results, the works first. I do not believe God is really concerned with the works. He knows that they will come, and will come in true quality, when the heart of a man is secured first in a true and loving real relationship with Him, where God knows Him and He knows God. The rest will follow. I don't believe God is concerned about that. He wants true love with His people. But are they much interested? They are more focused on the works than on Him. Let me tell you, they know the works better than they know Him. And they love them more than they love God. They will not be rewarded for works that were not authorized by God, did not come from true relationship with Him. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. Did God not say what one's good deeds were like apart from Him? They act like they know God, love God, but they don't, really. You spend time with the one, or the things you love. You listen to them. You can tell what one loves by what they pay attention to. And it seems to me that many of God's people are paying the most attention to the works or what they can get for themselves from serving Him. God is never fooled. All will be known for what they really are. To serve is to give, not to get. But many Christians serve in order to get, and will only serve if they get. Observe what a person does when they receive nothing in return, including pats on the back, approval from others, or an improved reputation in the eyes of others. See what people give when no one sees them give. Remember about doing good deeds so you will be seen by others. Be careful not to perform your righteous acts before men to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. By the way, if you feel unseen, remember that you are dearly and greatly loved by God. Remember that He always sees you, even when nobody else does. You have God, and to be seen by Him is better than to be seen by anyone else. To finish this message up, I will reiterate that I think there is an overemphasis on the works and an underemphasis on loving God and developing a personal relationship with Him. So much so that occasionally I have felt like I should be doing more, to be loved more by God, because the false idea is that He must be unhappy with me if I'm not doing enough stuff. I am so done with that. I think it is wrong, and it can put burdens on myself or others that God does not intend for us to bear. And in case I am misunderstood, which is so common these days, in case I am misunderstood, I am not trying to say that we should have faith without works. Going away from what I have written down here for a moment, I am not trying to say that we should have no works along with our faith. I'm sure I don't have to tell you about the passage in the Bible, the verses in the Bible talking about how faith without works is dead. Okay, I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't have works. I'm trying to say the works flow from that attachment to the vine. Works should not be just something we do apart from God. It is coming from somewhere. It's coming from Him. And I'm also trying to say that the works are, I'm trying to say many things actually. I'm trying to say the works are the results of our faith, the results of our relationship with God. Do you see the order? The works didn't come first. The relationship, the faith comes first, and the works follow that. Where I think that some people, and I have battled against this myself, where you start to think the works come first. Okay, going back to what I have written down here. Surely it is good to read the Bible. However, motives matter, reasons matter. It is good to read the Bible because you love the Lord and want to learn more about Him and want to educate yourself on what is in the Bible. I would say those are good motives and reasons to read it. There have been times where I felt pressured, burdened to read it or read it more, because if I didn't, I was being a bad Christian and God would probably be unhappy with me, or I would somehow not be in good standing with God. The emphasis on works can be so strong that the idea can become, the more you read the Bible in a day, for example, the better Christian you are, and the more God will be happy with you. For me, that is not a good reason or a true reason for me to read the Bible more. God loves me already. There is assurance in His love. It is secure. I don't have to do things to be loved by Him. He first loved me. In return, I love Him. And from this will flow any good works. The relationship comes first. It is not about doing all kinds of good works, and then God will love you and be pleased with you. The love and relationship with Him comes first. Okay, and departing from what I have written down here again, I wanted to share this little anecdote from my personal life in relation to relationship. My example is between two people, but my reason for bringing it up is to compare it to our relationship with God. The anecdote being, one day in my personal life, one evening, I was with a loved one, I will put it that way. I was with a loved one, and it was the end of the day. We had both been busy all day long. There was still more that could be done as far as like chores and things like that to do. But I hadn't spent much one-on-one time with this person all day long. And so for a moment we were sitting together and next to each other, and they got up to go wash the dishes because there were dishes to be washed. But for me, I just wanted to sit with the person for a minute, you know? All day you're distracted doing things. At that moment, what meant more to me was to be present with the person. They wanted to go wash the dishes because not only did they need to be done, but I think they thought that that would please me. Do you know what I mean? I'm the one who almost always does the dishes, so like a little help would be nice. And I appreciate that they wanted to do that. However, in that moment, I saw that they were getting up to go wash the dishes, and I said, you can just sit with me. In other words, I basically was asking, please just sit with me. I just want to be with you. Present with you. Near you for a moment in this entire day. Like basically, don't do the dishes. Let me do them tomorrow at some other time in the moment that we have together, just sit with me. That's what I wanted in that moment. And I think sometimes that's what the Lord wants with not only me, but with all of his children. All of the people that he loves so much, please stop going to do all the stuff, you know? Just spend a little time with me. I think he loves us that much, where sometimes he would like us just to spend some time with him, however that may be. I don't know, sitting with him in his presence in prayer, or just quiet before him for a minute. Not always doing stuff. Anyway, that anecdote said a lot to me. In fact, I actually don't need you to do the dishes. I just want your presence. I just want closeness. I just want relationship for a minute. You know what I mean? That would show that that's what I was after. Not what all the things you can do for me. You know what I mean? Not all the things you can do for me. And I think, as I said already, I think the Lord would like that with his people sometimes. One-on-one time in his presence, enjoying his presence, talking to him, listening to him, just spending some time with him, and not always running around doing tasks for him, supposedly. You know what I mean? I mean, there's things that he would like us to do, surely. But that will come naturally if you have a close relationship with God. I would not want to neglect personal relationship with him for works. If in that moment this loved one did not listen to me and just sit with me for a moment in this entire day, just sit with me for a second, and went ahead and did the dishes, the relationship would be weakened. Yeah, you did the dishes, but I mean, I could have done that the next day or something. I don't need you. I hope I'm not saying this badly. I hope my point is coming across, that sometimes relationship, being present, not only with people, but with God, means more than always being focused on the works. Okay, so going back to what I have written down here, sometimes I get the feeling that people, myself included sometimes, view God's love as a weak and easily changed thing. However, God's love is something we can find the greatest security and assurance in. It is safe and secure. It is not a thing that changes based on fleeting emotions and feelings. For those that have pets, whatever it may be, a dog or a cat maybe, perhaps you can relate to this imperfect illustration. I have a dog, and to me, he doesn't need to do anything to be loved by me. His mere existence and pleasant companionship is enough. He doesn't need to do things for me. He doesn't need to wash the dishes or help me with the laundry. If he has an accident in the house, I do not love him less. If he disobeys, I dislike that in the moment, but my affection for him has not changed. Do you understand what I'm trying to illustrate? Surely God's love is more secure and steady than my love for a dog. God's love for us is not performance-based. Furthermore, I have noticed, and it doesn't really take a genius to notice this, but I do things with my dog because of my affection for him. like going on walks with him, or petting his fur, or playing with him. And I think he does things with me because he thinks I'm not too bad either. Like following me around, bringing his toys to me so I can play with him, or just coming over to me to lay by my feet. These things between us would not happen if there was no love. Likewise, I think it is quite similar between us and God. Various works and things we choose to do should simply and naturally happen because of our love for Him. We will want to obey the Lord because we love Him. The various works or things we choose to do are not done in order to win His love because He loves us already. I sometimes think it can be easy to confuse doing the works with actually having a relationship with God. They are not the same thing. Doing good works done in the Lord's name and having a relationship with Him are two different things. I think it can be easy to confuse the two because doing the works can easily give the illusion of a person actually having a relationship with God. For instance, if I observed someone reading their Bible every morning, I might assume that they had a relationship with God. However, these days I am not so convinced. I have known people who can recite Bible verses very well, but live as if their father is the devil. There is no good fruit other than they can recite Bible verses. And, by the way, use them to try to control and manipulate in a wrong way. I will not be convinced that this person has a true relationship with God. Another example, if I observed a person faithfully attending church services every Sunday, I might assume that they have a personal relationship with God. However, these days I am not so convinced. I am especially not convinced when I observe actual unbelievers exercising more righteous ways of living than the churchgoer. For instance, I have known professing Christians, churchgoers, Bible readers, to treat their children worse than people I have known who do not profess to be Christians, do not go to church, and do not read the Bible, which is a sad thing, which makes one's supposed faith seem pretty worthless. I am trying to make the point that a person can do the works, the outward works of reading the Bible or going to a church service regularly, or other works, but not know God in a personal way. I believe when a person truly comes to know God in a personal way and loves Him above all else, you will see it displayed in their personal life. I do not believe you can be truly touched by the living God and be unchanged for the better and in observable ways. Personally, I do not care how many outward works a person does. This is not equal to a true, loving relationship with God. And again, departing from what I have written down here for a second, I think some Christians, okay, I'm not saying everybody who has a great emphasis on doing works, good works in the name of the Lord, I am not saying that everybody who has that emphasis on doing works is intentionally doing that out of the proper order. I think that because of how some have been taught in churches, that, and I will get to that a little bit more in a minute, but I think it has a lot to do with teaching that has been done in churches, teaching people that this is the way. This is the way to have a personal relationship with God. So what I'm saying is, I think there are some Christians who put a great emphasis on the works because that is what they have been taught, not because they are like intentionally putting overemphasis on the works. I think that's because that's what they have been taught. That's what they think is the way to have a personal relationship with God. And you might ask, okay, so then if that's not the way, what is the way to have a personal relationship with God? I think it's a lot of what it is to have a personal relationship with a person. Spending one-on-one time with them in prayer, listening to them. Have you ever developed a personal, intimate relationship with someone without listening to them? I think that's a little hard to do, personally. Have you done that without spending one-on-one time with them? Have you developed a personal relationship with someone and not even know their voice? Have you? Maybe in some exceptions, yes, if you want to get into online type of relationships where like people text each other for 5 years and think they really know the person. You don't know the person, you've been texting them for 5 years. Have you ever heard their voice? Have you ever tried to hear their voice? So I guess I just bring that up because I don't want all Christians who have ever had an emphasis on doing the works to feel too badly, because I think some have only been doing that because that's what they have been taught. They don't know another way to have a personal relationship with God. Yes, the Bible helps in that a lot, in coming to know God. But there is a difference also between knowing about somebody and knowing them personally. For instance, let's say there's some celebrity out there that you like for some reason. You know what I mean? You know where they were born. You know how old they are. You know where they were raised. You know what some of their beliefs might be. You might know all the lyrics to every song that they ever wrote or played. You know a lot about the person. Sure, read about them. Read about them all day long. Listen to their music, whatever it may be. Watch the movies that they're in. You know a lot about them, okay? You don't know them and they don't know you. So I just hope that we do not confuse that we actually know someone, including God, by what we know about them. That's why I think it is very important that we know God personally for ourselves, not always through other people, what they experienced with God, what they might have heard from God, but is He real to you? I think when you come to know God personally, He seems quite real, quite alive, not this thing from history that we have to have accounts from other people to know Him ourselves. I'm not trying to discount the accounts of other people as far as that being a valuable thing for us to know. It is valuable to know what God has done with other people in their personal lives, and what there's value in others' testimonies, surely. I'm just saying, is He real to you? Or a distant thing? A distant thing. He can be real to you today in a personal way. He is able to be known by you personally, not only known about. And going back to what I have written down, I really dislike the hypocrisy I see in Christians, maybe, who do all the works, really invest themselves diligently in the works, the outward works, and yet in personal dealings with them they seem like imposters. like they aren't Christians at all. I don't want to be that way. I hope I am not that way. It is disgusting, and it makes me wonder who they think they are fooling. I would rather they do next to no works, but have a true and loving relationship with God. Even so, like I said before, the works will naturally flow from a true and loving relationship with God. The works is not where it's at. A true and personal relationship with God is where it's at. You do understand what I mean about hypocrisy and imposters, right? Professing Christians consistently behaving no better than anyone else, or worse. It is a disgusting thing, and I would rather they not profess themselves to be Christians at all, as it makes the title of Christian seem like a joke. Also, the thing that I briefly mentioned earlier about accosting every stranger you meet on the street and telling them about the gospel. Okay, I got something to say about that. I am so done with feeling guilty because I don't do that. I am done with feeling some sort of lingering shame because I do not evangelize to people in the grocery store or in random public places. Do you know what I mean? I should do so if God leads me to, but I am done with having other Christians make me feel that if I don't, God is unhappy with me, or like I'm not doing what I should do. At any given time, God can use any of us to share the gospel with others. Even so, not everyone's main God-given gift or function is to be an evangelist. I am just over the usual guilt trip I hear at many a church service about me needing to evangelize to everyone I meet. And if I don't, that God is frowning upon me. I get the feeling that some Christians think that that is the only spiritual gift God gives, the gift of evangelizing. Perhaps they are an evangelist, but I would prefer that they not assume everyone else is. If we want to throw guilt around, if we want to throw guilt around, maybe they need to read the Bible a little more to understand that not everyone is an evangelist. I would suggest these passages. As I said, as led by God, I can share the gospel, but it doesn't mean I am an evangelist or that I have that special gift. Is this news? Is this news? It's like being able to cook, but I am not a professional chef. Or like being able to sew, but I'm not a seamstress. Or like being able to drive, but I would not be driving in the Daytona 500. I can evangelize, but I'm not an evangelist. It is not my specialty, my special spiritual gift given by God. It feels like being a square peg forced into a round hole sometimes. There are other spiritual gifts besides being an evangelist. If the square peg doesn't fit in the round hole, the inference is that I'm not doing what I should. I'm just done with that. I will not be feeling shame or guilt for something I do not need to feel shame or guilt for. Put the round peg in the round hole and the square peg in the square hole. God knows what shape the pegs are and where they belong. Let us submit to Him. Yet apparently it is man who thinks he knows what shape the pegs are and where they need to be put, but actually doesn't know what he is talking about. Indeed, I wonder what difference might be made if we emphasized loving God and getting to know Him personally as much as we emphasize sharing the gospel with every stranger we meet. Also, I'm sure you've heard it before, but sometimes how we live speaks more than speaking the gospel to people. It's a sad thing if we preach the gospel, but then our lives show us to be largely unchanged. And going off away from what I have written down here for a second, and let me just talk for a second without reading. The thing I just talked about, how I can almost get a, not always, almost this guilt trip of if you missed evangelizing to that person you saw in public, oh, shame on you, God's frowning upon you. You really missed that opportunity. You should have done it, and you better do it in the future, You better evangelize to everybody you meet. That whole thing. Okay, I am aware of the Great Commission, okay? I am aware of the importance of sharing the gospel, but are the people who would like to guilt trip me aware that not everybody is an evangelist? That there are other functions and gifts of other parts of the body? I don't guilt trip them into, why don't you teach more? Why aren't you teaching more? God is frowning upon you because you're not teaching. Well, not everybody is a teacher. I am not guilt tripping them into being like, why aren't you being an apostle? Or what are the other gifts? You know what I mean? Why aren't you healing and doing miracles? You shoulda, you need to do that in the future, or else God is going to be unhappy with you. Why do I not guilt trip everybody? Not everybody. Why do I not guilt trip the individuals who would like to guilt trip me that I didn't evangelize and accost every stranger on the street? Why do I not guilt trip them into doing any of the other spiritual gifts that God gives? Why? Why do I not? Because I am aware that might not be their specialty. That might not be their main gift. And I don't want to presume upon a person that you are doing something wrong by not functioning in this way. As far as what their spiritual gift may be. In fact, I think most people don't even know what their spiritual gift is anyway, let alone me. I don't know what the spiritual gift of most people is. So I don't tell them to do the thing that they might not be made to do as their spiritual gift from God. God knows what it is, and I hope they come to know what it is too. But as of this moment, I don't know what that may be, so I'm not encouraging them to do the thing that I don't know if that's their gift. I don't know why this is not more well known. I just know that my specialty is not being an evangelist. And there is not something wrong with that. Again, God can use each of us to share the gospel with people, but I understand enough about how God created me that I know that I'm not that. At least I know that I am not that, and there's not something wrong with that. I'm not saying anything wrong about evangelizing, unless you are doing so because you've got guilt tripped by someone at church to do so, and now you think you need to do that in order to be loved by God, and if you don't, He's frowning upon you. Do you know what I mean? Let us be led by the Lord in what we do, and in sharing the gospel sharing the gospel included. Let us be led by the Lord. I don't want to be led by someone's guilt trip upon me. And because I can tend to be a sensitive person in some regards, I have had to not feel guilty about this, because I have not felt led whatsoever to share the gospel with random people in the street at all. And so, I mean, I hope you don't feel guilt-tripped either when it comes down to it. I don't know why this is news. I feel like it is news. But, I mean, are they aware that there are other gifts? Not everybody has the same gift. Maybe they are an evangelist. Well, if that is the case, may God use them as He desires to. But don't tell... You know how this is a little ridiculous in a way, because, okay, basically it can come down to, it is possible that someone guilt-tripping me about, you better evangelize to, the person on the bus, the person at your workplace, this person, that person, any kind of person you meet. The person telling me to do that could be very well telling me to do something God is not telling me to do. And that's a scary position to find oneself in, if you are telling people to do something that God isn't even telling them to do. Now, to even receive what I just said, you have to have some kind of level of maturity, because I can understand that people that don't have some level of maturity would take what I just said and think that I am saying we should not evangelize at all, that we should not fulfill the Great Commission. That is not what I'm saying. Again, I won't repeat myself, but to receive what I just said a second ago, you have to have some level of maturity. And I think that may very well apply to almost everything I just shared in this video. Because if you don't, I don't think this message is for you. I've touched on several subjects, and I understand that I have not given a completely comprehensive explanation of each thing. A lot of these topics can be expanded on significantly, and you can get down to more detail. But I hope I have said enough to be of some use. I do understand that some of the things I talk about are for people who are not babies spiritually anymore. You have, and I'm not even saying that to be egotistical or something. I'm just saying I understand that maybe you have to be at least in 3rd grade spiritually, maybe, to get some of the things I'm trying to explain. Because if you are still a baby spiritually, you may not be ready to receive what I share. Again, I'm not trying to say that to be weird and egotistical about anything I have to say. Anything I have to say is there by the grace of God, and that He's taught me, because I had to learn too, I got a bit off topic, but still my point remains that we should prioritize loving God and developing a personal relationship with Him before prioritizing any works.